Hi, I'm Eddie Moody, and I'm with Joshua Riggs. We're at Bethany Church, and we're talking about tech tips. And many of you pastors are thinking, I never knew I'd have to learn how to run a soundboard or learn how to do cameras and all this. And here we are in this day and age, Joshua, and there's so many that many pastors have to learn. They didn't learn it in Bible college or seminary. Right. No one's taught them these things. How in the world can they learn how to use technology?
You know, I've often been asked, how did you learn all this stuff? So, I like the tech side of things, and so I've learned, and I didn't have any classes in college for any of this. I did travel with a ministry team, so I learned some audio stuff with traveling there. But for the most part, I've had to figure this stuff out on my own, and that's probably where most of us are. And so a couple of ways that you can learn anything, but especially tech. And first of all, just ask somebody. Like, there's somebody in your church or in your community that is a good IT person or a good tech person. They do it for a living. Ask them and take them to lunch and say, hey, can you help me think through this? This is a problem we're having. Help me think through this. How can we make this better? Most people, and this is true about churches too, most churches are willing to share the information they've learned. And so reach out to somebody. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone and admit you don't know something. Reach out to somebody and just ask.
It makes them feel pretty good too.
Churches and leaders are more than happy to share. I have called so many churches, emailed large churches, and said, I noticed you did this. How did you do that? And then almost without exception, they respond and say, well, this is how we do it. And some have even picked up the phone and just called me.
Wow.
So
that's great.
You just ask somebody for help. And also another way that you can do it, in 2020 and beyond, you can learn anything on YouTube. I mean, anything. So I used to not want to fix my car. That was the only thing I didn't want to tackle. And then I had a bill for something, shocks and struts or something, and it was just outrageous. And I thought, then I looked up the price of it. If I were to buy the parts, how much would it cost? And it was like, a third less than what I paid. And so I decided then, I'm going to figure this thing out. So now, anytime I have a vehicle problem, the first thing I do is I go look on YouTube. There's everything on YouTube. And so you can learn it if you're willing to take the time. You're willing to ask questions, but also take the time, watch a few videos.
And they can watch them over and over again.
Yes.
You can stop. You can rewind.
Yes.
And some of us you've done with cars. There's all kinds of things we've done this with. We can do it with technology.
Right. If you're talking about sound, there are all kinds of YouTube channels available to help you with church sound, or how to do Pro Presenter for your lyrics and videos, or lighting, or live streaming. Live streaming, there's so much help out there, and it's free. That's the thing. It's free if you're willing to. So ask somebody, be willing to spend some time watching a YouTube video. And then the other way that I've learned, and I think anybody can learn, is just to be willing to sort of get your hands dirty and take it apart. And maybe that's just my build, but if I can take it apart and put it back together, then I'm going to know how it works, and I'll be able to troubleshoot when there's a problem in the future. I know, all you have to do is unplug this and plug it in here.
But you're saying you've got to get involved as you're using it and applying what you've learned, what someone's told you, what you've seen on video or whatever. Really hands-on is where you learn how to do it.
And how many of us, since 2020 started, how many of us have learned so much in the last 3, 6, 10 months? I mean, even our church, we were live streaming before COVID started, but we had one camera, and it was kind of just an afterthought. And then when we weren't able to meet in person, you better believe we jumped about 10 years ahead of where we were in about 3 months because of the urgency of it. And so if you want to learn,
you can. It shows. It shows. I think we had an 85-year-old live streaming out there 2 weeks into COVID. Hey, anyone can do it.
Yes.
So we encourage you. They just do those 3 steps. Ask folks, look online, YouTube especially,
YouTube.
get your hands dirty. They can do it, can't they, Joshua?
Yeah. And the other thing I would say is don't do it alone.
Yes.
Don't do it by yourself. And when we talked about this in one of the other videos on getting volunteers, get somebody to be a part and share that experience together and ask them for your help, especially if you're a senior pastor. There's somebody in your church that can help with this. So find somebody that shows interest and ask them to help you solve whatever problem you're trying to solve.
And this is the whole deacon thing and waiting on tables and so forth, right?
Yeah.
But you are trying to get the word out, so you're live streaming. That's why it's good for pastors and stuff if no one else will do it. But then quickly be bringing people along to do that. They become better at it, involving more people. We've talked about that in other podcasts about you getting volunteers and really do want to spread this around. And it's almost like this becomes a hobby, We enjoy learning a bit about this.
Yeah. And if you're, again, most of this you probably aren't learning in school, in college, but you have to know how to do it, especially if you're a worship leader watching this. I encourage you to learn everything you can about the tech that's involved in your church so that you can just continually make it better.
Yeah. Well, thank you for joining us today, Joshua, and thank you for joining us. And please share this with others, with friends and other worship leaders and pastors that could help. Because remember, we truly can be more effective as we keep working together.